Okay, let's call to order the November 16th meeting of the Monroe County Redevelopment Commission. Jeff, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Martin,
Present.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Present.
Commissioner McCarty,
Present.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Here.
Commissioner Shelton.
Here.
And we'll note for the record, we have 4 in person with Mr. Shelton joining via Zoom.
Good. All right. First item on the agenda is an update on discussion with the developer regarding State Road 46 corridor highway. Jeff?
Yes, we met with Mr. Kreider, I believe it was on the 25th of October to discuss their progress. I think they had plans, 70% plans completed. There were some questions. I think the biggest question, at least that I was tasked with, was trying to figure out what the current easement is for the roadway that exists right now. I haven't found anything definitive, but I have worked with, looked at some records that seem to indicate that there is a 30-foot wide easement somewhere for Hunter Valley. I'm working with our county surveyor's office to determine where that somewhere is. I think he indicated that he would be able to start looking at that starting tomorrow. So hopefully we'd have that, and that is necessary to kind of figure out where the roadway will actually go, and if we can go towards the quarry or not. And then Mr. Kreider indicated that once he had that information, he would reach out to the other property owners to see if they'd be willing to donate, or what it would take to get that kind of right away.
The expected total easement is 50 feet? 60?
I think the road there.
No, I can't remember what the roadway, the right of way was in those discussions.
So it's a collector?
It is a collector. It is a collector, so it'll be more than 50.
Okay, so probably 70 then.
I'd say it's more in the 70 range, because a 50 would be more of a local
Right,
subdivision
right.
type road.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that sounds correct. So that information is the next piece that's necessary to continue the work on the plan then.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Anything else on that project? Is that it?
I think I think our goal is still to get moving, get the final designs done in time for the spring season. I don't know if he reported where he was at with getting the permitting required to cross the stream. I don't recall that.
Okay, all right.
I think you would have to have a little bit more set up the plans to
Mhm.
send
Right. Yeah.
for the permitting, but I know he had it in the process at the time. So.
Right.
Is it probably to ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this something that, based upon what we're looking at, that time-wise?
Use your mic.
Oh, sorry. Apologize. The letting of that can be let at any time by the county after he's got a permits approved, et cetera.
I'm not sure that.
I believe he is going to do the construction work.
Okay, we don't
Yeah,
have to.
we'll have to go through the full letting process.
Thank you.
And we've already issued the bonding authority.
Mhm.
This is going to be he draws it out as he needs it, kind of bond.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to item 3, which is our minutes. Jeff has provided us with a set of updated minutes.
I move approval since they've just recently been corrected.
I apologize.
That's all right. It's easy to do. Listen, it's so hard when you put names in to remember this way or that way.
All right, we have a motion for approval of the October 19th minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Cullen seconds. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty. Yes. Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelton.
I abstain since I've not seen the update.
Okay. It's correction of a name. Mine.
Well, then I'm fine.
The vote is 4, 0, and 1.
Correct.
Okay. claims and transfers. In your packet, there is a document concerning the approval of claims and transfers. We have 3 items for total claims and 2 items in transfers. In the total claims, we have a claim from CSX Transportation for $18,800. I believe that's for the right of way across their railroad tracks for the Sunrise Greetings extension. We have a claim of $7,959.33 from Yasmin Strump Law Group. This is probably in conjunction with the acquisition of property. We have the check to the Morgan County Clerk in the amount of $2,755,000, which is the amount we needed to deposit with the clerk as a result of the determination of the appraisal. And because we made this deposit, we now have the good faith deposit made, so we can start doing right-of-way work as soon as the weather is permitting us to do that.
Correct. We will start the tree clearing at the end. Correct. We will start tree. It gives us access to the property. We will continue the condemnation process, but this way we can get in and do the tree clearing at the end of the month.
Okay. So the total claims are $2,781,759.33. We also have transfers, which we are moving some money around to make sure we've got the check that we've written to the Morgan County Clerk covered in the correct account. So we are transferring in from the West Side Economic Development Richland Township TIF to the Vernal Pike right-of-way project, $2,800,000. And we are transferring in from the West Side Economic Development Richland TIF to the Woodward, to the Curry Woodward Smith roundabout project, $150,000 for a total transfer of $2,950,000. Anybody have any question about these?
A lot of money.
I would just note for the record, so you guys are aware, we got information from the auditor's office today that they may request we do those 2 transfers in a different way. However, it was approved this way last night by the county council. We think it's better to continue that in case this is the correct method, so we wouldn't have to do any corrections in that under that case, as opposed to trying to bifurcate how we do it between 2 different bodies and then assuredly have to go somewhere. So just so you know, this is historically how we've done it. And so if you see a change in the future, it could be because of a new guidance from the state.
Okay.
And I talked to Bree a little bit on my way here. So what the difference is, when you have a grant fund, you are to put your local match into that grant fund. And it's a reimbursable grant with NDOT. So say if it's an 80-20 project, we would put our 20% match into that. Then we would get our 80% of reimbursements throughout the project construction. Your goal is to get that reimbursable grant line down to 0.
Gotcha.
What the Curry Pike project, I believe, is just going to be just fine because it's an 80-20 split project. The Vernal Pike project, what is the question is, should we have transferred that right-of-way acquisition money into that grant line? Because that's not reimbursed. That's a local responsibility. So that's what the difference is. So we're just working out those differences of when do we put it into that grant fund and when do we just pay for it out of our TIF fund? So that's where we want to make those corrections, right, for the State Board of Accounts. So when you're dealing with some percentages and some of it's reimbursed, sometimes we start these projects and they're 100% local responsibility. Curry Pike started out that way. Design was all under the county. We paid for that. It ended up construction being an 80-20, so it became a reimbursable grant. So you were allowed to just put our 20% match in there. Vernal Pike is 100% local design and right of way. So it was our assumption and auditor's assumption that we put that money into that grant fund, but really we might not should have. We should have just paid it directly from our TIF fund.
So what's the, if everything's good, then we stay the way we are. If not, it will.
It might
come back.
transfer back and then, or
Have to be.
one of the, so in talking to the auditor's office, and then last night when I was at the council meeting, that's when it was kind of brought up a little bit right before I was going to the council. The auditor had stated that maybe in the future that all we do is write maybe a check and then to pay these funds, just to keep everything clear and according to what State Board of Accounts requires. The difference is match versus what we should be putting in
Right.
there and what's, if there's no match and it's 100% responsibility, then it should probably just come straight out of our TIF fund. Is way I'm understanding it. The grant funds are very new, especially to us. We never had grant funds in the past. So that's where the difference is, whether or not that 100% should be going to the grant fund or just paid directly from our TIF fund.
I guess I would be somewhat concerned that there's no account
Yeah.
that has all of the costs for the project.
That was what I stated to Bree a little bit ago on my way here. I said my concern with that, and I gave her example of the Fullerton Pike Bridge Project, Phase 3. If we keep that out of the grant fund, that is partially funded through MPO. It's partially funded through NDOT. It's partially funded through the Fullerton Pike TIF. We have funded it through the local road and street, and now we've funded it through major bridge. So that would be very confusing to me if State Board of Accounts would want to come back and audit a project. So why wouldn't you want it all into that grant fund? Then this is paying for this, and we have it very spelled out in that grant fund.
Right.
This is where we're paying PE. This is what we're paying for right away. This is what we're paying for construction. So it would be easy. I think that it would all be paid out of one central location, and then you see where those funds came from to pay for that project. But we just have to work those details out with the auditor's
Right.
office, make sure it's
It's
correct.
important for us to remember that accounting has two functions, not just one.
Correct.
One of them is to move the money appropriately through its designations. The other one is to report to the people who are responsible for those funds, how their money is being used
That's right.
in total.
It seems like it's very transparent if you are paying for all your expenses out of one account and you can track where your money's coming from to pay for those expenses to get to that zero balance.
Right.
Whether or not it be, and that's what I tried to explain to the auditor's office. All these are not 80-20 projects.
Right.
I mean, some of these projects start out to be a 60% county, 40% NDOT. If they come up with extra funding, they might send us some more money.
Right.
So there's no set
Right. And
in
it's
stone
not
that
always
that
the
local
case.
match is always going to be
and It's
20%.
not always the case that we know at the beginning how much we're actually going to have to spend.
That's exactly right. It's really, it's a tough call. So again, the grant funds are a learning process for us. We want to be compliant with the auditor's office and State Board of Accounts. And we thought we were doing this the right way, way we were guided and the auditor's office was guided in their understanding. So, and it's, it's hard for them to understand. Some of them's not all 80-20.
That's right.
I mean, I know they have their hands full too. So we're all trying to work on over the next week, get on the same page and moving forward, know exactly what we can put in those grant funds and what we can't.
Right.
And I think the reason the state switched to this and the reason we created these separate grant funds was just for that reason. So you could track all the expenditures from one fund.
Right.
And I would
Sure.
just point out that we pretty much never know how much a project's going to cost when we start it. I mean, and that is, if you have that information beforehand, it makes it a lot easier. But, we really don't know what a project truly costs until
That's right.
till one, it closes, or you even have a pretty good idea once you get the bids out and they're let and you get the bid responses. You got a pretty good idea, but you really don't know what the final cost is even up until it closes.
When it closes.
Well, I mean, and that's a good point, because if you take the Vernal Pike project, we were awarded a little over 7 million for construction in 2017. So here we are in 2022, they're gonna give another 3 million towards that project. For, the cost is around 13 million. So, what we are transferring in there now, yeah, we're gonna pay out in right of way, but also we're still gonna be in the hole once that's paid out, because we're gonna have to still put more construction money into it.
Right.
So really, it's
It's an issue
It's-
that internally within the
yeah.
county, we have to resolve. And I'm just
Yeah.
letting you know that once we resolve it, if it's resolved differently than what's shown here,
that's why.
you'll see it again. And so I don't get too panicked if you see it again and we're spending, and it looks like we're moving and spending another $3 million.
Well, they can always solve it by setting up sub-accounts. But that's more administrative burden for them, which I'm sure they don't.
Well, it's kind of the way we have sub fund, we have a fund, the grant fund, and then we have sub account lines listed under there, broke down by PE, right away, construction
Right. You
inspection,
need to be able to,
utilities.
for each of those, you need to say what the source of the funds are
Yeah,
Right.
for each of those, so that you've got a complete roll up and
Yeah.
all the detail.
correct.
Yeah.
So we'll get those details worked out, so.
Okay,
Great.
And the 2.8 million is coming back around. Through the way.
It could come back around. It's not that we're spending it again. We're just doing it the way we need to do it for State Board of Accounts on tracking purposes. So, and we might do it differently moving forward, depending on after we meet and get the exact process.
I think the hardest thing is that people want to see what and how much was spent from each fund. And yet we would just assume put everything in the same bucket, but then we have to go individually. And
Yeah.
that gets to be very painful, as you probably know, as a business person.
Well, yeah, you want things to come from the same pot, and which
Right.
is on the same book, right?
Yeah.
And so, and ledger, and I understand and I don't, that why they would want to look at it that way, but they're looking at it with all due respect from auditor's eyes.
Yeah.
And State Board of Accounts, it sounds like, instead of the practicality of what we need to do and what we're responsible for as a commission and redevelopment. So, yeah, I hope that, and I trust it'll come to a good
It's a
conclusion.
little bit of a headache for
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a headache for us all, and it's something, been a learning curve for all of us. And like I said, I think the difference came down to that this is not, every phase of this project was not
Yes.
reimbursed. And I think that's what the confusing part for everybody is. And the auditor's office, they don't work on a daily basis of what's paid out on these projects like we do. And we know
Correct.
this is 100% local funds, and this part of that phase is going to be an 80-20. And they don't want to know all that additional stuff. But I think that's where the confusing part came in at, is they didn't realize, and we didn't realize, that we couldn't put our full money, what we need to pay out our expenses out of that, even though it was 100% local. So I think that's just the confusing
Well,
part
I'm
of it,
glad-
and getting on the
I'm
same
glad you're
page.
keeping it straight, or
Well,
offices.
Auditor's office is helping us try and keep
Well,
it
your
straight,
office-
so.
okay,
Motion, did we get a motion on that?
I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the claims in the amount of, do we include both of them at the same time or?
We can approve both at the same time, state the amount. for each
Okay,
separate.
for the claims, $2,781,759.33, and the transfer is $2,950,000.
Okay,
I think I did it right.
do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve our claims. And our transfers, total claims, $2,781,759.33. Total transfers, $2,850,950,000. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes,
Commissioner Shelton,
Yes.
Motion is approved, 5-0.
If you need any help talking with the auditor about why we want to see everything in one place,
One pot, Yeah.
let me know and we can,
no problem.
Give
I know
our
they're good to work with us and we'll want to come to the same,
okay.
same outcome.
No, that'd be good if you're available for that.
Yep.
Richard.
Okay, do we have any public comments? No one is here in the room. Do we have anybody online who wishes to comment? I'm not seeing anyone. Staff comment. Lisa? Something that you want to say that you haven't already said?
No, Gray Pike, we did the punch list. I think all those are pretty well completed. We'll just be closing out that project. Roundabout seems to be working well. Fullerton Pike Bridge project, we will start clearing actually at the end of the month on that project so we can get utilities going. Again, that still goes to letting, right away is all clear on that project. That goes to letting in July of 2023. Vernal Pike, we're finishing up with these right of ways. Waiting on the CSX to get us back of their signed agreement this week. And then we might have to move the letting maybe to March, but right now it's still February 15th for letting on that project.
Good. Just as a curiosity, how are we doing out on Sample Road?
Sample Road, we had our progress meeting today. Everything should be open for the winter. They will get intermediate down on both sides of the highway.
Okay.
We've requested that all the guardrail be put in also. They're supposed to start guardrail December 6th. And then they will have to come back in the spring after April 1st, put the surface down, the permanent pavement striping, and the remainder of the intersection at Old 37 North in Sample Road. That's where we had been waiting for Vectron to move a gas main. But other than that, we've asked for temporary pavement markings for the winter also. But yeah, it's moving along, but everything should be open for the winter.
Good.
I know somebody who lives there. I saw her the other day and she said, when am I going to able to get out of here? I didn't do it. I said, well, try to be patient. But
It's moved along. It's a big project and, you know, they took about 6 months on, you know, both sides. So we didn't want it to go into 2023, but that's something that couldn't be helped. So yeah, it's moving.
estimated completion,
Pardon?
estimated completion for some of this.
So most of it will be done except for the main surface and pavement striping, and that intersection will be done in 2023, at the beginning of 2023. So I would say you could say everything would be complete by June of 2023 because they don't really typically start construction season until April 1st. So giving them just a couple months to finish that out, depending on the weather, spring weather.
Right. especially, Yeah.
So yeah, and then we'll do our walkthroughs and be done with that one.
Okay, good.
So the asphalt plant's closed?
Pardon me?
Is the asphalt plant closed? Are we done?
And according to our meeting today, they're going to try and stay open until December 15th.
Oh, okay.
So they're supposed to come in and do the rest of the intermediate on November 28th, I believe it was, and curbing. So hopefully the weather holds out for us to stay on track. But according to EMB paving today, they want to keep their plant open till the 15th of December.
Thank you.
If it stays cold, they won't. Jeff, anything from you?
I don't think I have any updates. I'm just gonna try to get that information that
Okay.
we talked about earlier to Steve.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. Iris, anything from you? Comment?
I don't have anything except that I've been asked to whether I want to stay on the board. I will reapply
Okay, good.
for the record. I will.
All right. Colin, anything from you?
Nothing for me this time. No.
Okay.
I will also reapply. So yes,
Yeah, right. We're all-
I got that email. Yeah.
It's all 1-year terms, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes, I think this commission is all 1-year terms.
Yeah.
So you're council. I'm a commissioner. You're a commissioner. Okay,
And Jim would be a commissioner as well.
I'm the commissioner, yeah.
too, yeah. And we haven't received anything.
Well, I got it.
Oh, I did. I got it.
Courtney?
Did you get it from the commissioners or from the council?
I got it. Jim?
I don't know. I didn't, I can't remember who I got it from. I got a request. Are you willing to stay on next year? And I said, yes.
Yeah, I bet it was from the council then.
Okay.
I haven't received anything from the commissioners. Maybe they don't want me back.
Well, then my comment would be if you do not want to, let me know if you do not want to be on this board again next year, and I'll relay that to the commissioners. If I don't hear from you, I will tell them that you do. So just so you know.
For the record. Yes, thank you.
Opportunity.
you.
that would-
I think
that'd be
we've got a good team here right now, so
Yeah.
I'd like to see us have a chance to
Come
stay
back
on.
again. I also indicated about the council and the commissioners that I'd be available to give them an update on our status and
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I said, obviously Jeff is keeping you in the loop, but I can give you the perspective of the members of the commissions if you'd like. So, okay. With that, I think we are done.
Move that we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a
I just
second?
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. We are adjourned.
All right.
Is that okay, Jim?
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
Jim.
enjoy Thanksgiving.